Hey everybody, welcome into the Live and Learn podcast. Hope you're doing well on this Monday, August the 11th. Happy birthday to my late grandmother, Linda. I miss you every day. And I still like to celebrate her birthday because she was the strongest woman I knew. I miss you. I love you. Tonight's dedicated to her. But thank you for joining in. What a hot, beautiful day we have today. The wildfires obviously put a damper on the beautiful weather, but hey, anytime it's 35, 40 degrees, you're not going to hear me complaining about it because before we know it, there's going to be snow, and then I'll be the one complaining because winter sucks. But we have so much to get into. So starting this week is really the ramp up to football season is what I'm getting into. So starting this week, we're doing 2 podcasts per week, Monday and Wednesdays. Monday night will be a recap of the weekend / the week in sports. So later on the show, we're going to preview UFC 319. We're going to look at what happened in the NFL this weekend in preseason, injuries, different storylines, and look ahead to some golf, Major League Baseball storylines. So that's the Monday pod. The Wednesday pod is going to consist of division previews in the NFL. So on Wednesday, I'm going to be previewing the AFC and the NFC North. So you got Baltimore in there, you got the Bengals, Green Bay, Detroit. So we'll take through divisions, players added, players subtracted, where are they going to go, how are they going to look. So that'll all be on Wednesdays. AFC, NFC North this Wednesday, and we'll do 2 divisions every Wednesday for the next couple of weeks until we get through all of them, and that's when the NFL season will start, believe it or not. It's crazy. It's coming up quick. So that's the sked the next couple of weeks as we gear up for the football season. So should be fun. I love doing the previews, going through, listening to podcasts, getting people's thoughts, looking at the roster, the depth charts, then doing my own analysis. So I love it. It's awesome. So that'll start Wednesday evening around this time. But for tonight, it was an interesting weekend in sports because you had preseason football ongoing, which of course I watched because I have no life and I'm an addict to the product. And I'm watching Shadeur and I'm doing those type things. I'm watching UFC Saturday night at the Apex, which we'll get into. But really what took over for me, what became the top story was golf. Week 1 of a 3-week PGA Tour playoffs, down in Memphis, scorching hot temperatures, and it was a Sunday filled with storylines because you had Scottie Scheffler at the top of the leaderboard, so that's always compelling. That's always going to sell the best golfer in the world. You had Tommy Fleetwood in the mix, an 8-time runner-up on the PGA Tour, tied for the most all-time without a victory. You had Justin Rose, another Englishman who's good friends with Tommy Fleetwood, who was a runner-up at the Masters to Rory McIlroy, had a good showing at the British, and not to mention he's 45 years old, and yet he's still competing with the best players, which is crazy in and of itself that he's doing that. So we get to Sunday, and it's kind of a back and forth day. Nobody's really got any momentum. Fleetwood, who I have no confidence in his ability to win because he never has. Top players making pars in and around. Then you see J.J. Spaun, who's playing with Scottie Scheffler, won the U.S. Open, runner-up at the Players' Champion, having a great season. He's finding his groove, takes the lead birdies on 8 and 9. Fleetwood comes back, birdies on 12 and 13 to take a one-shot lead. But then J.J. Spaun has another birdie. Fleetwood bogeys. And we see that what happens is on 17, Fleetwood's tied for the lead with J.J. Spaun and with Justin Rose. He bogeys the hole. A very makeable par putt, misses it terribly. And on the 18th, he missed the green, put it in a bunker. So missed the fairway, then misses the green, has to chip on and pars out to finish tied for third with Scottie Scheffler. Another disappointing outcome. Yes, he's in the top 10 for the FedEx Cup standings. In all likelihood, he's going to East Lake. He's made good money this season. He has his tour card. So it certainly could be worse for Tommy Fleetwood. But he can't win. He just completely self-destructs down the stretch and on. He's never won a tournament when he started with the lead on a Sunday. He's got one win, and it's on the DP World Tour. He's never won on the PGA Tour. And he's such a likable guy, and he's a good golfer, good guy. Seems like low maintenance, just likes to play golf, likes his family. He will be on the Ryder Cup team for Team Europe. But he self-destructs, and Justin Rose, his English counterpart, ends up with a birdie to tie for the lead, and J.J. Spaun and Justin Rose end up going to a playoff. Playoff hole 1, they both par. Playoff hole 2, they both birdie. Playoff hole 3, Justin Rose makes a nice birdie putt to put the pressure on. J.J. Spaun misses. Justin Rose wins the tournament, the St. Jude, at 45 years old, into the top 5 for the FedEx Cup standings. He's 45 years old. You'd think, okay, his prime, evading him. And yet, to me, he seems to he's had a great year. A great year. He does his thing. He's confident, doesn't get panicked, and he finds a way. It was a great moment for Justin Rose. He's a guy that could have went to live and taken the money like a lot of Euros did, like Lee Westwood, like Ian Poulter, Sergio Garcia, all guys around his age. And yet he stayed on the PGA Tour and remained a consistent threat week in and week out. And he deserves a ton of credit for that. Taking on challenges. He's going to be on the Ryder Cup team at 45 years old for Team Europe at Bethpage Black. The last full swing was about, is he going to make it? Is Justin Rose? He did. This year, it's no question. He's 2 years older, and it's no question. He could be a captain like Keegan Bradley is. But he's still in that mix where he's a hell of a player. Runner-up at the Masters. Winning one of the 3 legs of the playoffs. In contention to win the Tour Championship maybe, which he's never done yet. J.J. Spaun, great season, breakout season. Wins a major, 2 runner-ups at 2 really good events. But I feel for Tommy Fleetwood. I don't know how he plays this week at the BMW in Maryland, how he gets on that flight and plays well this week. He keeps a smile on. He did an interview with NBC. Credit to him. But, I mean, it just has to be disastrous. You have the opportunity again. You have the opportunity to get the monkey off your back, and it's still there. No better opportunity. Scheffler didn't have a great Sunday. Didn't have it. He didn't play horrible, but he wasn't great. Didn't have his caddy who had to leave for a family emergency. He still finished outright third, but Scheffler wasn't at his best. And yet you still can't win. You still can't overcome it. So it was a moment for me where I'm happy for Justin Rose because I like Justin Rose. But Tommy Fleetwood deserves a win. And it'll probably come. But you also can't say that with certainty. Now, this tournament certainly about a winner. But it's also about getting into the top 70 players were in the field. Well, 69 because Rory McIlroy did not play. So 50 of the 69 move on to play in Maryland this week in the second leg of the playoffs. You had Pendrith, Corey Connors, Nick Taylor, Mackenzie Hughes all playing. 3 of the 4 are moving on. Mackenzie Hughes going home. Didn't play well enough, was never in the mix. If this was a regular tournament, he would have missed the cut. But he's gone. Pendrith, Corey Connors, Nick Taylor, all moving on to the top 50 and have the ability to play at the Tour Championship. Because the 3 really, other than Pendrith, none of them had a great week in Memphis. But you saw 4 guys who started the week outside the top 50 find their way in to qualify in advance. Ricky Fowler, who finished 48, played with Chris Kirk. Very entertaining group because you shot for shot both guys. Chris Kirk finished 51. 1 shot outside the top 50 to advance. Had chances. Good birdie putts on 16 and 17. Birdied 18, but just one shot was the difference. 1 birdie was the difference for him. Kurt Kitayama, who won a few weeks ago, found momentum, won a tournament. He had a really good Sunday. He jumps to 38th in the standings to get to the top 50. So a great final month of July, beginning of August for Kurt Kitayama, whose putter is just rolling right now. Bud Cauley, another guy most golf fans never heard of, had a good week. Consistent. Finished 44th. He's moving on to the second leg. And the last 2, I guess 5, or I thought 4 or 5. Yonton Vegas was on the outside looking in. He creeps into the top 50. And JT Poston was number 50. High 60s to start the week, ends up at 50. The last guy to qualify for the top 30. I like to track this because they had a good week. They found a way to squeak in Ricky Fowler, who didn't have a great year. And I see some people online complaining because he wouldn't have got in because of the tournaments he was allowed to play because of sponsors exemptions. That's why he played. Well, he still got a star name, a star quality about him, heck of a mustache, wears orange, and people know Ricky Fowler. I mean, hell, it got him on the Ryder Cup team. And he had a good week in Memphis. Is he one of the top 50 golfers in the world? I don't know. Half of the 5 or 6 of the best are on the LIV Tour. So, I mean, no, he wouldn't be on the list. But am I complaining that he got in because he had a good week? No. That's Chris Kirk, Ricky Fowler. Chris Kirk, good golfer, wins more than Rory, oddly enough. But Rory McIlroy is a bigger star, period. And Ricky Fowler, he's a bigger star. People will more likely tune in to watch him next week than they would Chris Kirk. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Sponsors clearly want him in. They want him to play the tournament. You can put him on a board and go, oh, Ricky Fowler's going to play the John Deere. It's a selling point. No doubt about it. But the top 50 play this weekend. Rory McIlroy will return. And we talked about this a bit last week. He didn't play in Memphis because he didn't have to, because he didn't have to worry about not making the top 50. He started the week in the number 2 position. They play a whole tournament. He's still in the number 2 position. That's a problem for golf. They can't have this because you need incentive to play these events other than just money, because clearly that's not enough for somebody like Rory McIlroy. So I don't know what that is, how you sweeten the pot, how you make it more interesting. But he's one of the best golfers in the world, and you need him at the event. And for these guys to go play, and he's still in a higher position than you, I wouldn't love that if I'm Justin Rose or JJ Spawn or Scotty Scheffler, the best golfer in the world who played this past weekend. Or if I'm the new PGA Tour commissioner, I want him playing, period. Family time, I don't give a shit. Your job is to play golf. You have 3 weeks left of the season. That's it. You haven't played since the British Open. It's been a month. To quote the great Billy Madison, you get your ass out there and you play fucking golf. Different in the movie, but you get my drift. 3 weeks left. Then you get a month off, and then you play the Ryder Cup, and then you're off for another 2 months. Not that hard. Live in Jupiter, for Christ's sake. But top 50 this week in Maryland. Which has some very nice golf courses. Before East Lake in Georgia, which should be fun. Always like seeing that. And that starts on Thursday. Keegan Bradley won this tournament last year, the BMW. The best players, the top 50 in the field at Cays Valley Golf Club. And Rory McIlroy will be playing. Top 50 players will be playing. Poor Tommy Fleetwood. We mentioned the heat off the top here in New Brunswick. I was watching some tennis before we got going here tonight, before we went live. The Cincinnati Open. I can't believe they're playing tennis today. It's incredible. Arina Sabalenka, the number 1 player in the world, played Emma Raducanu, the U.S. Open champion, a few years past. Nearly 3 hours. Third set tie break to decide it. And the water they were getting, it's incredible heat. Walking outside, it's got hit like a brick. Felt like Vegas when I was there in October. But you just had the tournament in Canada. We got Cincinnati this week. Gabriel Diallo, and in my opinion, the best Canadian men's tennis player currently, faces world number 1 Jannik Sinner tonight, center court. Big opportunity, big spotlight. I don't think he'll win, but an opportunity nonetheless. Felix Auger-Aliassime won today to advance to the round of 16. Leila Annie Fernandez lost in the first round. What else is new? Vicky Mboku, the teenage sensation, elbow injury, not playing in the tournament. Neither is Naomi Osaka. So that answers that question that we had last Friday. It's going to be a hot week to play tennis in Cincinnati. Credit to Ben Shelton. Won the RBC Canadian Open for the men, playing in Cincinnati. Won center court last night. NFL this weekend. Preseason ongoing. We talked injuries. Rashawn Slater out for the Chargers for the season. But this weekend was about guys getting opportunities. And it started with Shadeur Sanders starting the first preseason game for the Dog Pound, the Cleveland Browns. Shadeur, maybe the most talked about player of the offseason. The NFL had record viewership for the 5th round of the NFL draft because people were so compelled to watch to see where he went. My father was live texting me, did Shadeur get drafted yet? Where'd he go? Build up intrigue, people swarm. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I have no life and I love the NFL. I watched all of the Shadeur snaps on Friday night against the Carolina Panthers. Shadeur played well. Shadeur played well, and you saw Bryce Young on the other side because Bryce Young started for Carolina. He played a few series. They're similar. Shadeur's bigger, but Shadeur's more athletic than people give him credit for. His ability to escape the pocket, pick up a first down with his leg. He's not his dad. And I think sometimes that can be the comparison, and you're like, okay, well, Deion Sanders was primetime. He's one of the best athletes in the history of football. If that's the comparison, everybody's screwed. He was solid in the pocket. He took some hits to make some plays. Played in rhythm. He missed a few throws he'd like to have back. But he did nothing for anybody to go, he can't play. Or, it'd be crazy if the Cleveland Browns, who have been stupid since the word go, would decide to start him at quarterback in week 1. Kevin Stefanski met with the media today and he said, I haven't seen enough yet. We still need to work out some things. And I get that. You don't need to rush it. However, if it's we're going to start Joe Flacco or we're going to start Shadeur, it's not hard which decision you're going to make. It's Shadeur. Joe Flacco is 40, he's immobile, and he's 40. Did I say he's 40? He's going to turn the ball over. He'll throw some touchdowns. You'll lose by 7, 8 points, not cover the spread, and you'll go 5-12. Now, with Shadeur Sanders, could you go 3-14? Yeah. But I'd rather play a rookie that I drafted to see what he can do. It's different in certain situations. Giants, you're playing Russell Wilson at least to start. We'll get to Jackson Dart in a minute. But you're playing Russell Wilson because you gave him some guaranteed money, and he's still a decent quarterback. He was on a playoff team last year in Pittsburgh. And that coaching staff has to win this year. Brian Daboll has to win some games. And Russell, at least from go, gets you a better chance than Jackson Dart. Flacco is not as good as Russell Wilson. He was a backup quarterback last year in Indy. Losing record, more interceptions than touchdowns. What else is new? And you know what's coming. Nobody, except Joe Flacco and his family is excited to watch that offense play. Nobody. And we're going to talk Cleveland on Wednesday during the AFC North, NFC North divisional preview pod. But in saying all of that, it's not, sometimes it's about viewership and sometimes it's getting people excited. Is it likely that the Browns are going to finish last in their division? Yes. More than likely. But I'd rather finish last and have a team that's at least exciting. At least has something noteworthy about them. Joe Flacco will play 4 games. They'll lose probably 3 of them, maybe all 4. And then they'll make the decision to go to Shadeur. We've seen this script. Oh, you can't go with the rookie right off the bat. But you play 4 games and then you pivot. So you know you're going to, but you just don't have the balls to do it in week 1. And again, I wouldn't be making this argument because it's not only because it's just Shadeur and Shadeur gets overhyped. Shadeur, not his fault. People on TV talk about him all the time. He's handled it like a pro. You see him answer questions. He's a consummate professional. He does his thing the correct way. But it's Joe Flacco. It's not Tom Brady sitting in front of you. I mean, this was talked about last year in college where you had Quinn Ewers playing in front of Arch Manning. Texas didn't win the national championship. Would they have won it with Arch Manning? We'll never know, but there's always talk about it. When do you go to the new guy? When's it time to make a change? If I'm Cleveland, Shadeur is starting preseason game 2 this week. And I play him with the ones. I'm playing my starters if I'm Cleveland this week. They play the Eagles in Philadelphia on Saturday afternoon. Shadeur would be in the lineup. He'd be starting if it was me. Because the thing is, if it goes horrible, Joe Flacco's still sitting there. But they have 5 quarterbacks, and that does not include Deshaun Watson, who's persona non grata, injured, getting paid a bunch of money, sitting there. They have 5 quarterbacks in training camp. 2 are rookies, Dylan Gabriel and Shadeur. 2 are vets in Snoop Huntley and Joe Flacco. And then you have Kenny Pickett, who's a former first-rounder that has never panned out, got rid of from Pittsburgh, won a Super Bowl as a backup in Philadelphia, and now he's here on Cleveland hoping to earn the job. They're going to have to cut at least one of those guys, if not 2. You're not cutting Shadeur. You're not cutting Dylan Gabriel. Snoop Huntley, okay, easy. You cut him. Who else? Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco? That's how I see this progressing. Shadeur played well, looked solid in his performance. Jackson Dart, Giants Bills, Saturday afternoon. Watch some of that. He looked good. And again, it's preseason. You're not playing against top defenses. I clarify that. He looked very prepared, and he looked like if Russell Wilson got dinged, he could step in and play. Could his footwork improve? Yes. Do I think he needs to use his athleticism more? Sure. But he looked comfortable, looked like he knew the offense. Threw a really nice touchdown pass back of the end zone. And the kid just looks the part, playing quarterback, Giants blue, wore a similar color. I love those Ole Miss jerseys. He's a guy that comes in, a lot of experience, played at Southern Cal, then transferred to Ole Miss, played for 2 years under Lane Kiffin, who's one of the best offensive coaches in college football. So he comes in prepared, he comes in ready. I like what I saw from Jackson Dart. Completed 65% of his passes. He played, Jameis Winston played, Tommy DeVito, so Giants played 4 quarterbacks in this game. He played well. It's the other rookies that kind of stood out. J.J. McCarthy, redshirt rookie, we'll talk about him. He looked okay. First game action since preseason last year. Cam Ward, number 1 overall pick. 5 for 8, 67 yards. He's going to be their starter. He's another guy who played a ton of college football. Incarnate Ward, Washington State, the U. He's ready. I think he's going to have a good year one. Their team might not be any good because their roster sucks. But I think he'll have a good season individually. Let's see, anybody else? There was some solid football. Chicago Bears did not play Caleb Williams, which was interesting to me. They still have 2 more preseason games, but with him struggling as much as he did last year, and again, we'll talk about the Bears on Wednesday, but I thought he would have played a bit. Didn't play at all. They played some Luther Burden III, one of their rookies, Colston Loveland, 2 new guys on offense. So we'll get to that on Wednesday. NFC North, I don't want to spoil too much. Other news, Anthony Richardson's okay. Dislocated his finger, but he's back to practice, should play this week in the preseason. Landon Dickerson got hurt in practice for the Eagles. He's made a Pro Bowl the last 4 years. Has a meniscus injury. Needs a small procedure. Sounds like he could be back in time for week 1. Big news because they play the first game of the season, obviously winning the Super Bowl. So they open on September 4th at home against the Dallas Cowboys. No news on the Micah Parsons front. No news on the Terry McLaurin front. James Cook holding in for the Bills, wanting a new deal. He was on the field Saturday's game, took pregame warm-ups, but did not play. So he's still hoping for a new deal before the start of the year. Cam Hayward for the Steelers, hoping for more guaranteed money as well. Trey Hendrickson. So still a lot of contract decisions to be sorted out. Still lost some time, as I said. The first game, September 4th. Second game, Chiefs-Chargers that Friday night in Brazil, September 5th. And then most teams open up September 7th on that Sunday. We'll track some more NFL this week. We'll go through, look at the preseason games, any injury notes we'll get into as we move forward here. Major League Baseball. think we'd start with the Blue Jays, but no. You got to start with the best team in baseball. Now, you initially say that and go, okay, well, what did the Dodgers get up to? Well, they played the Jays. Well, no, that's not who I'm talking about. The Milwaukee Brewers continue to amaze me. A team that I had no real expectations for. A team that lost their manager to the rival Chicago Cubs. They won their division last year because they're always competitive. But you look around and go, okay, I know Christian Yelich, he was an MVP. He's had back injuries and not what he used to be, but you go through and all of a sudden you look up and go, holy shit. The Milwaukee Brewers are 73-44. They have 4 more wins than any other team in baseball. First team to 70 wins. Craziness. They swept the New York Mets this weekend. The Mets are now only 8 games above 500. The Mets are now 4.5 back of the Phillies, who swept the Texas Rangers. The Brewers had 2 walk-off victories this weekend at home. They get contributions from everybody. They remind me somewhat of the Blue Jays, where you go, Isaac Collins. Most people haven't heard of him. Who is this guy? He's batting .295 this season, 96 games, 8 homers, 40 RBIs, gets walks, .448 slugging, 400 on base percentage. Oh, pretty good year. William Contreras. Oh, yeah, that guy used to be a catcher, up to 52 RBIs, doing his thing. Andrew Vaughn, White Sox, bounced around. He's batting almost 400 since he got traded to Milwaukee. Danny Jansen. How about yesterday, 2 for 3 for Danny Jansen, the new Brewer, trade deadline edition. They get 3 2/3 innings from DL Hall. Mears goes an inning and they win. Bullpen locks up. Mizorowski's out hurt. Doesn't matter. They continue to win. Sweeping the Mets. Okay, it's in Wisconsin. I don't care. Brewers sweep the Mets. I didn't have that on my bingo card. Brewers being on top of the Chicago Cubs in mid-October. I didn't have that on my bingo card. Their manager took money and left the Brewers. He's been at the helm of Chicago Cubs for 2 years, and he's going to lose the division for 2 straight years. The Brew Crew continue to be a perennial playoff team in a small market in baseball. They don't spend a lot of money. They spend at the margins. They draft well. And what they do incredibly well, they stockpile starting pitching. Jose Quintana pitched everywhere. Pitched for the Cubs, of course. You got Freddie Peralta. Priesters that didn't have a good game yesterday. Good season. You got Brandon Woodruff, who's come back from TJ, 2.29 ERA over 6 games. Mizorowski, stud, future of baseball. But they find a way. Some guys, they have good batting average. They have horrible batting averages. They score runs when they have to, and their whole lineup produces. Top to bottom, they get contributions. And they're tops in baseball, not just the National League. Sweeping the Metropolitans. The Metropolitans, there's some awful teams. Colorado's had a bad record for a while. Since mid-July, other than the Rockies and the White Sox, the two worst records in baseball, the Yankees and the Mets. Can't make this up. Both teams struggling. Both teams, the Mets pitching has gone to shit. They can't do anything. They can't get – Edwin Diaz blew an opportunity last night. They throw somebody out there 4 or 5 earned runs. Guaranteed. It was a strength to start the year. It's no longer a strength. Since end of June, they have a 4.58 starters ERA. It's 4th worst in baseball. Juan Soto is batting .211 with runners in scoring position since that date. Their manager's openly complaining about their hitting coach, about their pitching coach. Lack of adjustments. And we're August 11th here. It's nut cutting time. You're chasing the Phillies, who in my humble opinion are vastly superior. I kind of get a thing for the Phillies. I can admit that. 68-49 Phillies. Just a good team. Have been. They have a 5.5 game lead over the Mets at this point. Veterans all over that lineup. Zach Wheeler, still a stud. Harper, Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, tied for the NL lead in home runs with Shohei Ohtani. They're a team that's constantly in the mix. To me, the Philadelphia Phillies are the Dallas Stars of the NHL, where they are always in the playoffs. They always have a good team, but they can never seem to win the big one. They can never seem to get over that hump. This could be the season for them because I like their bullpen. I like what they've done. But if you're the Mets have a 1.5 game lead on the Cincinnati Reds, who are red hot. Terry Francona took over that team, and it seemed weird. Terry Francona retired with the Guardians. He got to a World Series in 2016, had some health issues, but then he came back. And slow start. Nobody really watches Cincinnati. Low payroll. You have the Brewers, who are great. You have the Cubs, who are obviously top of mind. You have the Pirates, who have Paul Skeens. So that takes up a lot of oxygen. And then you get Cincinnati, who have Ellie De La Cruz, who's awesome. But they're hot. 1.5 games back, playing the Phillies for 3 games this week. They're in it. They're in the race. No doubt about it. For the Mets, you can take nobody lightly because you can't beat anybody right now. Mets upcoming. Home for the Braves for 3. Home for the Mariners for 3. Play the Phillies later on in the month. Play the Tigers for the series end. Play Cincinnati for 3. Texas, Padres, Cubs. It's not an easy schedule. They got solid pitching. Clay Holmes, David Peterson, Senga when he's available. Griffin Canning. Good, decent season. But they need guys to step up, to come up in big moments. Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas. These guys haven't been good for them. Disasters lately. Steve Cohen, absolute panic. Because I think at their best, they're still one of the 4 best teams in baseball. Dodgers, Phillies, Mets, Padres. Those are my top 4. But what the Brewers just told them this weekend is, we will beat you with depth. You will always beat us with star power. You will always beat us with money. But we're going to beat you with just having guys that like to compete. Talk Mets, you got to talk Yankees. For the 5th time this season, Aaron Boone was ejected from a game yesterday where the New York Yankees lost 7-1 to the Houston Astros at home. They lost the series 2-1. To make matters worse, Jose Altuve had a hell of a series. He loves playing the Yankees. He does. Christian Walker had a great series. And Aaron Boone, it's becoming performative now. I saw the play. Was it a strike that wasn't called? Sure. But he gets tossed so much, it's just, okay, there's Aaron Boone, ejected once again. The Yankees, they're in a world of hurt. I said this, they don't have a great team. I don't care what anybody tells me, they don't. And I didn't think that in April, that they had a very good team. Now, will they still make the playoffs? Likely. Wouldn't shock me if they don't. But I didn't think they'd make the play. I predicted that they wouldn't. I like to be right, so I hope that comes true. But when Max Fried's not awesome, which he wasn't yesterday, and Carlos Rodon isn't awesome, and you're relying on their bats to keep you in games, you're probably going to lose. More often than not. Aaron Judge is hurt. And he was struggling before the injury after such an impressive first half. And he's been carrying the boats, if you will, all season on a lackluster team that plays in a big market so people think they're better. Michael Kay can scream run differential, but you look at the group and you look how they play situationally. They're not a great team. Outfield yesterday on a couple plays, they just misread balls. They give up bases every time. And they know they're under the gun. They know they have to win despite the fact that they were in the World Series last year. But if you look after the World Series, Juan Soto said, screw you, and he went to the Mets. Like going to play for Brooklyn and not playing for the Yankees, which Kevin Durant did, but that didn't really help his career. But that doesn't happen often. So Juan Soto says, screw you. They bring in Max Fried, and he's been really good for them. Really good. But positionally, where are they strong other than in right field with Aaron Judge, the best player in baseball? They're not anywhere. DJ LeMahieu was on this team until he was DFA'd. They basically started the season saying Anthony Volpe is going to be an awesome shortstop. And if he's not, we're screwed. Well, they're screwed. Rotating guys at first base, none of which we trust. Where if you look around, do the Blue Jays have a great team? No, but they have a pretty decent one. They have an everyday shortstop in Bo Bichette. Check. They have an everyday first baseman in Vlad. Check. They have an everyday center fielder, Varsho, when he's healthy. Check. Everyday right fielder, Springer. Check. Third base, Barger. I don't think they knew that, but maybe internally they did because he's been good. Loperfido's a kid, but he's a stud. The kid's just what a great bat. What a find he's been. So just going down the line, you go, okay, and we got Gausman, and we got Bassett, and we got Barrios. Okay, check, all working out. So you have fundamental pieces that you can rely on. More than the Yankees. The Red Sox have the same advantage over the New York Yankees. If I had an hourglass, they probably sneak into the playoffs because while the Guardians are on a heater and they don't quit, and Stephen Vogt, who's a former player, will have that team competing until the bitter end, no doubt about it. The Yankees probably still find a way. Probably still have a decent record. Their next 9 are against teams that are not playoff teams. Twins, Cardinals, Rays, Red Sox, Nationals, White Sox. Again, a lot of teams that aren't very good, quite frankly. The last 5 series of the season, Twins, Orioles, White Sox, Orioles. So that's favorable in late September. Not a guarantee, but they probably get in. But I think change will have to come in New York. They don't like to do it. Because Brian Cashman's been there forever. Aaron Boone's been there for a long time. And yes, they were in a World Series last year, but they're expected to be good again this year. And I think it's more about Cashman than it is about Boone. Because if your roster stinks and you're one of the teams that can spend copious amounts of money on your roster, this isn't where there's a salary cap and you need guys to be better than what you're paying them. In baseball, you can just overpay. We want you, Oakland wants you, we'll pay you more. Yankees have that advantage, and yet their roster still is subpar. The Blue Jays took 1 of 3 in Los Angeles, playing in Chavez Ravine, losing the first 2, winning a thriller yesterday. Had bases loaded in the bottom of the 9th for Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts, but Mason Flaherty comes in, strikeout Shohei Ohtani on a full count, then gets Mookie Betts to ground out to get the victory. Thrilling game. Good win for the Blue Jays to salvage it. Now you head home. Great. No big complaints. Their worry to me, and it's been a worry for a while, who's going to be closing for the Blue Jays in October? Because to me, it's not going to be Jeff Hoffman. Jeff Hoffman threw 33 pitches yesterday. 10 of them were strikes. 10 of them were strikes. If John Schneider leaves him in the game, the Blue Jays lose. Mason Flaherty comes in, gets his first career save. Good on him. Great story, great moment for him. But he couldn't get it done in the 8th because he gave up a tying run then. Then you go in the 9th, they get the go-ahead run, and he comes up with 1 out and puts 3 guys on. He walks 2 of them. Shaky as hell. And that's the majority of his performances. Is shaky as hell where you leave going, oof. I'm glad we won that, but I didn't feel good about it. Their bullpen, Brendan Little, good pitcher. You have Jadiel Rodriguez, who's a dog, had a bad performance on Friday night, but that happens. Few and far between for him. Hoffman, Flaherty's joined, but who's their closer? Because you're going to be riding a wave of just complete anarchy if it's him. It's going to be like the Texas Rangers having Dyson, putting him in the closer role against the Blue Jays back in 2015, 2016. It didn't work. It blew them up. There's close games in the playoffs. Do you trust your guy at the back end? If you're the Blue Jays and you're a Blue Jays fan, you say you trust Jeff Hoffman, you're a fucking liar. Or you're just gullible. And you know what? That's probably nice to have, but I'd rather be smart than stupid. And that's a quote. You can put that in a t-shirt. That's one of the more brilliant things I've ever said. I'd rather be smart than stupid. Love that. Merch opportunity. I wouldn't feel good about it. Rest of the team, I'm cool. They lost to the Dodgers. And as I've mentioned, the Dodgers are getting healthy. Blake Snell looked great yesterday. Tyler Glasnow's back. Kershaw looked great on Friday night, the Ageless Wonder. That was a fun matchup between him and Scherzer. Mookie's playing better as of late as we get deeper into the season. Ohtani's got 41 home runs. He's pitching again. So to win one out of those three, achievement. They're up to 69 wins, second most in baseball. But to me, it's an open tryout. From here until the end, who's our closer? Because it can't just be Jeff Hoffman we signed in December when he failed the physical for the Orioles, and now he's our closer emeritus. No. Whoever gives you the best opportunity to win, your closer. They got to be losing hair by the day with him at the back end of their bullpen. If it's not, I like Rodriguez because he just attacks batters. He comes out, he's throwing hard. He's not afraid. He's a younger guy, but I give him a look. I'm not putting Brendan Little there because I think Brendan Little's good in his 7th inning, 8th inning stretch when you need him. He can come in, do his job. He had a solid outing yesterday where he went inning and a third, gave up 1 hit. He's had some struggles of late, but been good. Dominguez, I don't think he's a closer. He's solid, but I don't think he's a closer. 6th, 7th inning guy for me. So they got some decisions to make at that position. But fun series. Blue Jays now are back at home. They got the Chicago Cubs starting tomorrow for 3 games. My parents are going to be at this game. Fun series. 2 good teams. Cubs with 67 wins. Blue Jays with 69 wins. Ben Brown up against Jose Barrios. 3 games against the Cubs. 3 games against Texas. Not an easy series. 3 games in Pittsburgh. 3 games in Miami. Twins, Brewers. They're a good team. Can the Red Sox catch them? Absolutely. Red Sox lost 2 or 3 this weekend to the Padres. The Padres are great. They're right 4 back. They start a series with the Astros tonight. They were in some tight games. Just San Diego got the better of them. More interesting for the Astros. They won 2 or 3 against the Yankees. The Mariners swept the Rays. So the Mariners are now a half game back of Houston in the AL West. Texas is 6.5 back as Texas has lost 7 of their last 8, including getting swept by Philadelphia this weekend. Mariners, their deadline additions, Naylor, the Canadian, Suarez, Cal Raleigh's got 45 home runs now. They're on a heater. I think they're going to win the division when the going gets tough. Astros still have Altuve, and their top-end guys are great. But if they don't get Yordan Alvarez back before the end of the season, and their pitching, which is banged up, I like Seattle. But big series for the Red Sox. And you get this one of the few times that their Blue Jays are hoping that the Astros do them a favor. They're rooting for the Astros. Go beat the Red Sox. Let us get a couple wins against the Cubs, grow our division lead, and go from there. We got Twins Yankees tonight. Red Sox Astros. Just a few series ongoing. Brings us to our last kind of story of the day. Big news out of the sports media, sports business. The Ultimate Fighting Championship, otherwise known as the UFC, signed a $7.7 billion deal, exclusive rights deal with CBS/Paramount Plus. So 7 years, $7.7 billion, meaning that the UFC will be on Paramount Plus exclusively starting January 2026. UFC has been on ESPN Plus for the last 8 years. This deal, they did a 7-year deal with the mothership worth $1.5 billion. Now they do 7 years, 7.7. This deal is actually worth more than, if you look up what Paramount Plus is worth, this is actually more than what they're worth, $7.7 billion. Paramount also just did a major deal with South Park for $100 billion for South Park. If you're not familiar, watch it. It's pretty funny, I heard. Haven't seen it myself, but I heard it's pretty funny. Not my type of humor. It's crude and mean, and I don't like that. But the big deal for the UFC is no more pay-per-view. The pay-per-view model is dead. And as a consumer, this is awesome. Because this coming weekend, I'm going to be purchasing a pay-per-view. UFC 319 in Chicago, Illinois. Which I'm happy to do because I need to watch these fights. And it's an awesome card, and I'm stoked. I got to get through work this week so I can just watch this card, basically. That's my view of it. But starting in 2026, I have Paramount Plus. South Park is on Paramount Plus. Survivor, The Challenge, lots of different stuff. A lot of fun reality TV. But you'll just go to Paramount Plus, turn it on, and you got UFC Fight Night Rio. You got UFC 324 starting in January on Paramount Plus. They're also going to have events on CBS, linear CBS, which is fun to grow the platform even more. If you're looking at TKO, which is the stock, the company that owns the UFC and the WWE, they're under one umbrella now. WWE did a multi-billion-dollar deal with ESPN last week. UFC now does a multi-billion-dollar deal with Paramount Plus / CBS. Some good business over the last couple weeks for these companies. Get streaming deals. You still get network TV out of it. And you have WWE and UFC getting out of the pay-per-view model. WWE calls them premium live events, but you have to pay for the pay-per-view. So it's still a pay-per-view. They just make it sound better. UFC has been a pay-per-view since the jump. They're pivoting. You're seeing DAZN, big company that streams a lot of boxing. I watch my NFL on it where I can throw on 4 games at once on a 4-box. They're getting out of the pay-per-view model starting in November. So this is a pivot. People don't want to pay for pay-per-view. People pay enough for streaming services. Ain't that the truth? And I think this is a win for the consumer, and it's a win for the company because they're getting a lot of money. A lot of money. But strictly from a consumer point of view, I think this is a win. 100%. And I have Paramount Plus, so I don't need to buy another. Mark Shapiro said today, if you have Paramount Plus, basic Paramount Plus, you do not need to pay more for UFC. Basic model. I said, Paramount Plus, they got some good shows. I'll watch some shit on there. Old Season Survivor. I do that every once in a while. Watch some South Park. Watch some movies. If you got Paramount Plus, you can watch UFC for no extra cost. Because it's about subscriber. We're seeing this with Netflix. Netflix put on Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. They put on Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. They're putting on Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez in about a month. They want people to subscribe to Netflix and stay a subscriber, watch the fight, and then watch what they got on Netflix. That's what Paramount's banking on as well. Becoming a subscriber to the UFC, you're paying us month over month $8 to $12. A lot of UFC fans. And could be a hell of a lot more UFC fans if you're not paying $59.99 for a pay-per-view every month. You feel better about dropping money on Paramount Plus, on spending it there instead of, I can't justify that because I'm spending on pay-per-view and all these streaming services. I know, it sucks. As a person that's addicted to content. But that was announced this morning. Big news. Big deal. This past weekend, thinking now, it's basically end of August through December, UFC will be on ESPN/ESPN Plus. Watched the UFC Vegas 109 at the UFC Apex this weekend. The UFC Apex is a small venue. It is expanding. They're reportedly growing it to fit about 5,000 to 10,000 fans. Good idea. Get people in there. Make the event feel better. Good stuff. That becomes a true event. We saw in the main event Alexander Fluffy Hernandez fighting Roman Dolidze in the middleweight division. It was one-way traffic. Fluffy Hernandez, it was like he played with his food. He did whatever he wanted with Roman Dolidze, a tough Georgian fighter. But when he wanted to strike, he did striking and looked very well doing it. You want to go to the ground? I'll beat you up. Landing knees, putting him on the ground, nearly getting him in a guillotine at the end of the second round. And it didn't matter which way the fight went. Fluffy was the better man. In the fourth round, gets the back and puts his paws around the neck of Roman Dolidze. It looked like a choke I've rarely seen. And Roman tapped extremely quickly. Fluffy has now won 8 fights in a row. His last loss was to Kevin Holland way back in the day. And no middleweight fighter has ever had to win 8 or more fights to get a title opportunity. He said after his win, the UFC is flying him to Chicago to be at the middleweight championship main event this weekend between Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev. This guy's not a Mike Hogg. He does his own thing, lives in the woods, has kids, smokes a lot of pot. But he's one of the best fighters in the world. He can beat anybody. He's game. He fights routinely. He fights 3 times a year at least. 5 rounds, anytime, anywhere. Regardless of the outcome this weekend, if Fluffy got an opportunity to fight for the title, I'd be fine with it. Because to me, I feel like he's earned it. He's gone through tough guys, beating them, getting finishes against good guys. And he's got momentum and he's feeling himself a little bit. He's like, I got this. He's 15-2 in his career. This year, beat Brennan Allen in February, beat Dolidze in August. Beat Michel Pereira last year, submitted him. Submitted Roman Kopylov. Knocked out Edmund Shabazian in 23. Submitted the power bar, Marc-Andre Barrio. This goes back to 2020. That's when he got knocked out 39 seconds in against Kevin Holland. Long time ago. 5 years without a loss. 8 wins. You got Nasruddin Imavov and Kai Halio fighting in the main event of UFC Paris on September 6th. But Fluffy, he's just as good. And if you don't want to give him a title shot, give him Israel Adesanya. Give him the former champion, the legend, one of the best middleweights of all time. Give him that to put a stamp on his career. That opportunity. He's right there and he's so good. He's going to Chicago. Also on the card, Steve Erceg bounced back, gets a victory against Ode Osborne. Andre Fili with a split decision victory over Christian Rodriguez. Thought that was 30-27. Don't know why it was a split decision. Christian Leroy Duncan, nasty back elbow finish of Eric Anders. Uros Medic, first round walk-off, just right hand in the first round. It's a good win for him. Solid weekend of fights. This upcoming weekend, UFC 319. One of the best cards of the year. My most anticipated fight of the year. And I'm just jacked up for this Saturday night. It's an awesome event back in Chicago. Dricus du Plessis defending his title for the 3rd time in the main event against Khamzat Chimaev, the boogeyman. Dricus, defending his title for the 3rd time, is an underdog going into this fight at plus 172, according to our friends over at FanDuel. Khamzat minus 225. Khamzat's never lost. Dricus has never lost in the UFC. Khamzat's never lost, period. Khamzat's has not fought since last October when he beat Robert Whittaker. He's had some cardio issues in the past where he nearly lost to Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman took the fight on 4 days' notice. He is so aggressive at getting you to the ground in the first round and getting the finish, like he did to Robert Whittaker. So strong, so aggressive. But when he doesn't finish you, he gets extremely tired, and it can go horrible from there for him. I love the fight. I think it's going to be phenomenal. It could be over quick because maybe Khamzat submits him in the first round. But Dricus is so weird with his style. Off balance, weird punches, hard to predict what he's going to do. Hasn't been a guy that's been easy to take down, and he seems to only be getting better. Not to mention he's just a massive human being. Walks around outside the cage 230, 240. He fights at 185. So this is a bigger guy than Khamzat's ever fought. Okay, he subbed Kevin Holland. Robert Whittaker used to be a welter. Robert Whittaker's a small middleweight. This is a different beast. I like the champ to retain. I like Dricus plus money in the main event plus 172. I like some underdogs on this card, quite frankly. Dricus to win, to retain his title for the third straight time. I just think Dricus is really, really good. If he gets out of the first round and a half, he wins the fight. Give me Dricus plus 172 to retain. I don't think he'll finish Khamzat, but I do think he gets the win. Gets the decision. Co-main event, you have Lerone Murphy taking this fight on 3 weeks' notice against Aaron Pico. Aaron Pico was supposed to fight 2 weeks ago in Abu Dhabi against Movsar Evelev. Evelev got hurt, had to pull out of the fight, so they rebook him for a co-main event on UFC 319. This is Aaron Pico's first fight in the UFC after coming over from Bellator. Patricio Pitbull, Patchy Mix, both lost their UFC debuts after coming over from a different promotion. Lerone Murphy, the Miracle, undefeated in his MMA career. From London, fought Josh Emmett earlier this year, 5 rounds, got the win. He's a great boxer, good kicks, strong, great physique. Aaron Pico's a wrestler by trade. He's going to want to get this fight to the ground. This is another one where Lerone Murphy, the experienced guy, undefeated in this case, feels like he very well could be in the title conversation. I like Lerone Murphy getting plus money. You can get him at plus 130. Overall, I think he's the better fighter. I like Lerone Murphy plus 130. I like Lerone underdog, Dricus underdog. I like those two guys both to win their fights this upcoming weekend as straight up underdogs. This is another solid fight. I like Lerone. Third fight in the card, Jeff Neal fighting Carlos Prates. These two are supposed to fight in Miami in April. Neal got hurt. Prates ended up fighting Ian Gary. Lost a 5-round decision. His first fight back. Jeff Neal, been around the game a long time. Has fought some really good guys. Prates, great boxer. Part of the Fighting Nerds squad. I expect this one to be fun. Jeff to use his size, try to get in the clinch, try to get in some of those uncomfortable situations. Carlos Prates, a minus 265 favorite. Jeff Neal, you get him at plus 200. I see Prates just a little more of a crisp boxer. I think he gets back in the win column at the welterweight division. So I like Prates. Then you got Jarrett Cannonier against Michael Venom Page. MVP's second fight at middleweight, fought Shara Bullet in February, got the victory. Was a welterweight for 90% of his career. Now he's a middleweight fighting Jared used to fight at heavyweight, so he's massive. MVP's so weird because he fights in that karate style and he's constantly bouncing. And he's hard to time and he's hard to hit. So he's hard to predict what's going to happen in one of his fights. Jared's a vet. He's in his 40s now. He's gone through some wars, fought Israel Adesanya for the title, fought Kai Bohadio last year, and was fight of the month. 5 rounds, nasty fight. Knocked out Gregory Rodriguez in February. nasty knockout. My advice for this one is stay away. Stay away because MVP fights are so tricky. He's a minus 186. Jared's plus 144. If I had to bet it, I'm betting Jared. But betting MVP fights is hard. I like Jared to win, though. But I don't trust myself to make that bet. Final fight in the main card, flyweights. Tim Elliott, the veteran, fighting Kaya Sakura. Kaya Sakura joined the UFC and got a title shot right away. Few do, but he was a rising star in Rizin, oddly enough, the promotion. He got submitted by Alessandro Pantoja in the second round because Pantoja is a beast. His first fight since December. So a lot of time off, a lot of time to work on skills. Tim Elliott hasn't fought in a while either, for that matter. Kai, huge favorite, minus 340. Tim Elliott, plus 250. I like Kaya Sakura to win. I like Kaya Sakura to finish Tim Elliott in this fight. Undercard, you have Bobby King Green against Diego Ferreira. Two veterans, two guys that have been around a long time, two guys pushing 40. I like King Green plus 140 to get the win. Gerald Meerschaert fighting Michael Osachek. Osachek now training in Brazil, part of the Fighting Nerds. Osachek minus 260. I like him to win, and I like him to finish Gerald Meerschaert. Jessica Andrade, who loves to fight, gets Lupe Godinez. Andrade plus 136. I don't mind at all. Chase Hooper fighting Alexander Hernandez. Definitely Chase Hooper's toughest fight of his career so far. He's a minus 310 favorite. I like Chase to win. The legend Edson Barbosa returns against Drakkar Klose. Tough one. I like Drakkar Klose plus money. And then you have Brian Battle, Nursultan Razobov. Brian Battle, just a stud, really good boxer, minus 174. I think he gets the win. It's an awesome event, an awesome card. I am glued into it. I can't wait to watch it all. So on Wednesday, we're going to be doing AFC North, NFC North preview, divisional preview for the start of to gear up for the start of the NFL season. Podcasts like tonight, we'll do that next Monday. So Monday, Wednesday shows for the next little while before we get to the start of the football season. So until then, we'll talk to you Wednesday. Have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you then. I'm your host, Noah Warren, and this is the Live and Learn podcast.